The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Greetings, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Welcome back to another Paul Ponders show. Excuse the scratchy voice. I'm battling a slight cold as I think of the saying, I once had a bird named Enza. I opened the window, influenza. But the show must go on. It's him behind the glasses looking and shaking his head.
Hey,
boom, boom, boom. I'm the
he's
opening
here till
act.
1, folks. Try the appetizers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Shecky Solano here. Shecky Solano. Well, my name is Paul Solano of the PS&All Marketing Group. I also wear another hat as General Manager of Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden. It is an absolute honor and pleasure to be on WATD in the slot of the Boiling Point with Arthur Boyle. Arthur is busy doing some grandfather things for right now, but I believe he may be calling in at the end of the show. I just toss out this trivia question. Name the only public official in Massachusetts who has served on 4 school committees. So just think about that. Ponder that. So, Tim, how was your new year?
It was nice. Thank you. How was yours?
It was good. It was really busy at the restaurant, and
I would hope so. New Year's Eve.
Absolutely. Yeah. Had a lot of party pans going out, so worked out really well. And it's one of those things that it's a time to reflect and just be with a lot of our customers at the restaurant. And just do some pondering, not so much resolutions, but basically just thinking about the year ahead.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I just want to touch upon, before we go to a commercial break, what Paul Ponders is all about. And a lot of people ask me about Paul Ponders. Why Paul Ponders? Well, I suppose if my name was Larry, it would be Larry Laments. If my name was Sam, it would be Sam Speaks. Or if it was Tom, it would be Tom Talks. But Paul Ponders. I do ponder a lot of things. And during the course of having the podcast on many outlets, it's something that I've had many great topics of discussion. I've had many fine guests. So I do invite you to check out paulponders.com. Well, as Arthur Boyle, the executive consultant of Paul Ponders, would say, it's not time to make the donuts. It's time to pay some bills. So let's hear from our sponsors.
Have you tried Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand it to Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857. Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakesett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back. Thanks for listening to Paul Ponders and WATD. And if you want to give us a call or text us, you could give us a call at 781-837-4900. Or if you want to download the Odyssey app, you could do that as well. I know my daughter in California has downloaded the app, and she tunes in and listens to her dad every week. So that's great. And shout out to Annie if you're listening. And listeners can also go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders shows on WATD. So we're waiting for Joey from the neighborhood. Joey from the neighborhood may be calling in, Joey Voices and all. But just to touch upon the past shows, when I first started dropping podcasts, I started out with a contract of Parently Love. And it's a contract that I wrote many, many years ago, and it was very helpful in saving a few relationships between mothers and sons and some children, and it really worked out well on that, and that's available for a download. But past guests that I've had, Rico Petrocelli, a good friend. Rico Petrocelli is a past guest, so if you have a chance to log in on the paulponders.com, check out the Rico Petrocelli episode, and it's a great episode. And also Tom DiBenedetto, a minority owner of the Boston Red Sox, and both of them are tied in. And if you remember the missing cap from 1967, it was really great to find to see the return of the cap that happened at a National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame, Massachusetts Chapter Hall of Fame dinner back in October, back in Malden at Anthony's in Malden. And it's a really funny story. It's a great story. So you want to check out both of those episodes. Both are mentioned with the irony, if you will, of Rico Petrocelli and his lost cap that he never thought that he would see again, and also the fact that someone had kept it hidden in storage for many, many, many years. And the individual came clean and presented that cap to Rico. And ironically, the person that took the cap was one Tom DiBenedetto, who in later years became a minority owner of the Boston Red Sox. And it was one of those things that Tom would often see Rico and just say to him, "I got your cap." And Rico would say, "Yeah, right. Yeah, that cap is long gone." So really, I invite you to tune into both of those episodes of Paul Ponders. Also past Paul Ponders episodes, Rick Weitzman, NBA scout, former Boston Celtic, is also a past guest of Paul Ponders, along with a few others. So we're waiting for Joey from the neighborhood to give a call over. But apparently Joey still isn't here, so we'll keep on talking about past episodes. And I do invite our callers to call in if they have any questions or if you want to talk about anything and everything. But it's past guests have also included Hall of Fame coach Porky Vieira from University of New Haven. He basically was a great guest, and let me see, Joey is calling in now, I guess. But Coach Porky Vieira, Frank Porky Vieira from University of New Haven, is in fact just a great, true gentleman. He's the winningest baseball coach in New England, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. So if you want to check out that episode. I also had a Hall of Fame coach from Madison Park High School, Coach Dennis Wilson, who I've met at many backyard barbecues. Some friends in Brockton have invited us to their home to do some backyard barbecues. And Coach Dennis Wilson is just incredibly awesome gentleman. And if you want to check out that episode, it's something that it's really great to hear about his philosophy in life. And the students who have had Coach Wilson have learned some incredible lessons, not only on the basketball court or on the playing field, but also in life. So kudos to Coach Dennis Wilson. So on the line we have Joey from the neighborhood. Joey.
Hey Paul, how you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just standing in line at Brugger's Bagels right now.
Oh, really?
I'm to order a protein shake while I'm on the phone with you. Is that okay?
That's okay.
All right?
Absolutely. If you want to get me, a wheatgrass shot, it would be great.
Yeah, I'll bring that right down to you.
There you go. Come on down to Marshfield. Now,
yeah, I'm in Melrose. It'll take me about an hour to get there.
All righty. Well, traffic wasn't bad coming down. It was really great coming down from the Malden Medford area today. But Joey,
Hold
last...
on, I have to put my order in.
Okay,
you
got it.
An Orange Dream Machine with whey protein and peanut butter. Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
No, that sounds very good, actually. That sounds very good. So last week we heard the extraordinary muffin cupcake story, and
Yes.
I want to touch upon your book that is really just a wonderful book. I did some edits with you on that, and Bob Hilberg.
You did some edits with me. And
Yes,
you wrote a nice blurb for me, too.
Absolutely, without a doubt. But the book is Good Things Are Supposed to Happen to You.
Do you believe that, Paul?
I do, truly.
Okay.
Indeed,
So do I.
really do. But there's a one chapter, okay, about the law of attraction. So if you just want, in the few minutes that we have, if you want to talk about that chapter, the law of attraction.
Okay. So what would you like to know specifically?
Well, about how things happen for a reason and things just pop into our worlds.
So when you manifest things, manifestation isn't something, it's energy. And so manifestation is energy turning into matter. And so when you can concentrate on something long enough with laser focus, you can generate enough energy to kind of take the positive ions in your environment that are around you, and they kind of work in conjunction with you and your belief and your energy to make that happen and come to fruition. Now, law of attraction, it's quantum entanglement. There's a part in that chapter called quantum entanglement. Was that what you were specifically referring to? Or
Yes.
You just wanted overall general kind of
Yes.
review?
No, if you want to run with that thought process, that would be great.
So quantum entanglement is when you meet somebody for the first time and you have a kindred spirit with them, you entangle, your soul gets entangled with them. And they did an experiment called the quantum spin, and where they took two particles and they entangled the two particles in a lab, and then they separated them by 14 miles. That was a pretty specific thing, right? And then they measured one of the particles to see what would happen. And when they measured one of the particles, the other particle 14 miles away instantaneously responded. And they were trying to figure out how they were communicating. And then they came to the conclusion that they weren't communicating. Once they were entangled, they were never separated again on a spiritual level, on a subatomic spiritual level. I don't know if I'm explaining. I think I'm explaining that as basic as I can. And what they said was, if that can happen on the subatomic level, when we connect with each other, we're never really apart from people. So it's like, I'll give you an example, and I gave an example in the book. I actually gave a couple of examples of some things that had happened to me to prove that theory correct. And I got a phone call. I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this woman named Ursula, who I happened to become friends with when I was living down in Marshfield. And I hadn't seen Ursula or heard from her in about 6 months. And her name came up because this kid I was talking to, his sister-in-law's name was Ursula. And I said, what a unique name. And I started telling him about my friend Ursula and how fond I was of her and what a great person she was and how we became such good friends. And as I started fondly talking about her emotionally, my emotions kind of got involved in it. And about a minute later, my phone rings. And it's Ursula from Marshfield. Now, normally when we were younger, we would call that ESP. But I had been studying quantum entanglement at that time for probably about a year. And I knew there was a science behind it. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. So I couldn't take the phone call because it was loud where we were. So I listened to my voicemail a little while later. And on the voicemail, it was just Ursula saying, hey, buddy, I was just thinking about you. I wanted to call and check in with you and see how you're doing. And that was it. So when I was talking about her to my friend, her connection to me lit up on the other end. In her mind, my name popped into her head. And so that was one example that proves quantum entanglement. So when somebody says to you, you're in my thoughts and you're in my prayers, that's a very powerful statement, isn't it?
Truly.
Somebody says you're in their thoughts. When somebody's thinking good thoughts about you, you might be thinking of them and smiling and feeling good. So people's thoughts we're all connected. That's really what it comes down to. Quantum entanglement and the law of attraction. And we have more power to create things in our lives than we realize. So a lot of the things in your life, when you look at your life results, it's really the sum total of your thought patterns and your view of life, the world, and your place in the world, and your view of yourself. And the more positive you are, the more you're going to attract positive people into your orbit. Now, when you think about it, positive people who are overtly and mostly positive, you don't ever really see them hanging around with negative people because they don't have anything in common with them, and their energy is just different. It's just negative energy versus positive energy. So I could tell you within the first 2 minutes of talking to somebody that I had just met who their friends are. I could tell you who their friends are just by talking to them, if they're negative or if they're positive. I can tell you what type of friends they probably have and what type of life and results they probably have, for the most part. It's a very powerful thing to know, that kind of knowledge. And I studied that for years, and it took me 2 years to write that book. And I thought I eloquently put it into writing in this book. And I finally got it published by Salem Media Group. And we got Rico Petrocelli, Red Sox legend, to write the foreword. And when he read the manuscript, he says, "Man, this is a powerful book." He's a very spiritual guy. And he said, "This book can change your life." That was his big quote. And I used that quote right on the book, on the cover of the book. And it's helped a lot of people. And I wrote the book because I figured if I died tomorrow, well, at least I left something behind as a legacy to add value to the world and to help people. It's really all I wanted to do. I wanted my existence to really count at that level. And not to mention the fact that I always wanted to write a book. And I was really no way to learn how to write it. I just started writing things down. And you and I had sat down and talked about it and tried to figure out what went into it. It was the most interesting thing I ever did was learn how to write a book and then put pen to paper and write it. It really changed me as a person.
Without a doubt, and that was a learning experience for both of us, Joey.
Yeah.
So, Joey, how do our listeners get a copy of your book, Good Things That Are Supposed to Happen to You?
So if you can go to Amazon.com and just type in Joey Noone book, Noone, Noone like no one, Joey Noone book. You just type that in and my book will pop right up. And I've had people come up to me and tell me how it's changed their life. And when I hear that, nothing gives me more of a thrill and more fulfillment than hearing that. And when you hear that from somebody you grew up with, that's even more powerful, because a lot of times if you tell people that you've known your whole life, "Hey, I wrote a book, I want you to read it," a lot of times they'll probably think, "Well, geez, I've known this kid my whole life. What's he going to teach me? What's he know that I don't?" And they're probably not going to read it. So when you get somebody that you grew up with that actually reads your book and they come up to you and tell you how it's changed their life, like Paul Seasworth said to me, it's very powerful and it's very fulfilling.
I hear you.
My goal was if I could help one person, if I could help even just one person with all the time that I put into writing this book and getting it published, I made a difference. I made a difference in somebody's life,
Without a doubt. Well, Joey from the neighborhood, I thank you and looking forward to discussing the book even further and maybe any other books that are coming out down the road. But we have Mark Gabelhart, the car guy, on hold, and we have a couple of commercials we have to. But Joey from the neighborhood, enjoy your Brugger's protein shake.
Hey, I'm glad that you accommodated me. You guys have a wonderful
Of course.
day. Happy New Year.
Of course, brother. God bless and be well, all right? We'll catch up.
Bye-bye.
We'll catch up.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Thank you. And Car Guy, we're going to keep you on hold. We're going to just play a couple of commercials, and we'll be right back with Mark Gabelhart, the Car Guy.
Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakesett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you. Have you tried Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
Well, we are back. Thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. And on hold, Mark Gabelhart, the Car Guy. Mark, welcome.
How are you, Paul?
I am doing well, thanks. Living the dream. It's all good in the hood.
Yeah, Happy New Year to all. And other than being a crisp, bracing day here in Raynham, Massachusetts, the sky is blue, the clouds are puffy, and the sun is out, and, who could ask for more, I guess?
This is true. This is true. Well, Mark, I thank you for calling in, and just wanted to just touch bases with you, and we'll talk about the topic of buying a car this time of year. Now, I know it's always something where, Washington holiday, Washington birthday sales and all. Is this a busier time of year for you?
Yes. Well, to give you an idea, Washington's birthday started many years ago. Alvin Fuller started it. He had a bike place in Boston, and he started Washington's birthday because what he wanted to do was sell more bikes, like pre-sell, because spring was right around the corner, all right? And people were going to be buying bikes, for the nice weather. So he kind of started it many years ago. And Washington's birthday used to be a huge, huge day. I can remember as a kid, my dad was the general manager of Tom Conley Pontiac in Norwood. And I remember my mother would take us down there on Washington's birthday, and they would have a big table with a checkered tablecloth and be all this food. And, there'd be all these people buying cars. And it was a great day. It was a great, great day. And then when I got into the business myself, started learning more about it. I worked for Mr. Bach for a number of years running one of his businesses, and that would be a day that he would normally never come into the dealerships. We would, he had a central location that we would go to, and we had a central office that we would drop our paperwork off at. Well, he would take, and he would come in to the showroom, and people would go like this. They would go, and they would like a husband and a wife sitting there, and they would like poke each other, and they would go, "Oh my God, do you know who that is?" And one of them would go, "No, I don't. Who is that?" They go, "It's Ernie Bach." And so it was like a movie star had entered. And, of course, he had a full-length mink coat that he would wear. So he was ever the showman. And he would walk into the showroom, and he would see the people, sitting there. And he'd walk up and go, "Hi, I'm Ernie Bach." And he's like shaking hands with everybody. And then he would go like this. He would go, Mac, come over here, Mac. And I would come over and I go, "Yes, sir, what can I do for you?" He goes, "Mac, these are my friends, Mr. and Mrs. And he'd go, "What did you say your name was again?" "Oh, Jones. Yeah, my friends, Mr. and Mrs. Jones." And you know what you need to do, Mac? You need to give them a really good deal, because I've told them if they don't get a good deal, they're going to call me up personally. And I don't want to get that phone call, Mark. And I go, "Yes, sir, I'll take care of it." And then off he would go for another year, so it would be like kind of, somebody walking up and down the red carpet, and then off he would go. But Washington's birthday has become I think, a little bit less of a car buying time because of the internet. Internet is something that gives everybody the availability to get what they need at a fair and competitive price now. All right. So I think what consumers are finding is they don't have to wait till February 14th or 12th, or whatever the day is, in order to get a good purchase, a good buy on a certain type of vehicle, whether or not it be new or used. What we find is that it's more about anticipating when customers are going to get their tax money. Because what we watch is probably around the end of January. The beginning of January, you start to see an increase in traffic to your website. We call them page views, okay? So we start to see more of those. Then as we watch it through the month, it keeps going up. And normally it peaks out somewhere around the end of January to the first part of February, okay? And that is people who are anticipating returns. So they're anticipating that they're going to get a return, and they're going to be using that money towards purchasing a vehicle. So you watch on a weekly basis. You kind of watch your page views going up, and they kind of peak out, somewhere right around that last week of January, first week of February. Dealers hold cars until then. So if I was going to be taking cars to the auction, I would wait until then, because what you get is you get that bump at the auction. Every dealer gets it. They see that activity. They're anticipating the fact that I buy this car, I'm going to be able to sell this car, because there's a lot of, right now, activity or page views. And so for about a week, or I'd say a 2 to 3 week period of time, prices of cars shoot up somewhere between $1,200 to $1,800 to $2,200, depending upon the type of vehicle it is, the popularity in the marketplace, the name of the vehicle being a good one. And so dealers, again, are paying more because they're anticipating, based upon what they've seen so far, that people are coming in with their tax money to buy the car. I would say if I was a consumer out looking for a car, I would probably try to get as much of that done before this all happens, because it's going to save you some money, okay? It's like anything else. It's supply and demand, okay? There is always going to be a demand for cars. It's just at certain times of the year you see a bigger demand for cars. The supply of the cars is, particularly if you're looking, you can buy a used car. But if you want to buy a nice used car, something that is well taken care of, got a good lineage, it's got a good heritage. I've always felt that buying a used car is kind of like when you were, dating, and you found the right girl, and you brought her home and you introduced her to your mother. All right. Mm-hmm. I've always felt that a car should be like bringing that girl home to meet your mother. All right. She's got to be the right one. All right. Because your mother knows she's going to see through if she's not. And so I would say to consumers out there, if you're looking for a used vehicle and you want to do it at a less hectic pace, you want to do it with a little bit more flexibility in pricing, now's the time. All right. As you get more into the end of this month and you move into February, you're going to find that the price of vehicles is going to go up. And dealers, again, everybody, we watch it every year. So it's one year it's the middle of January that we see it start to happen. Another year it's the last week. It has to do with tax returns, and so many people today, Paul, don't do a tax return in a traditional manner. They go to H&R Block or some of these other big tax preparers, and they actually get a debit card that is given to them for a certain amount of their return. So they get like a interest-free tax loan, I guess is I forget what they call it, but a lot of times, and when that money is out there, you got to, as a dealer, you got to recognize it's out there, and you got to make sure you're doing the right thing, because it comes in and goes out quick. All right. And again, it's based upon the way tax returns used to be done, you'd mail it in, you'd wait for it to come in. So it was kind of spaced out a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. Now, with people going and getting their tax refunds instantly on these debit cards, like through these big tax preparers, all of a sudden, for a week or 10 days, the money's there. And then all of a sudden, what happened to it? Well, it's already been through the system. So, I guess to say, not to be repetitive, but to answer the question, if I was a customer looking for a used car, I wouldn't wait till Washington's birthday, unless you want to go. And I guess you go to some places and maybe they'll still give you a cherry pie. That used to be the big thing. I remember they have all these cherry pies,
Sure.
and they would have the impersonators, dressed up with the powdered wig, and the
wooden teeth, right?
Yeah, like
That's
George Washington. So
that's too funny.
it was always a fun time. And just one other thing, Paul, the thing that you needed to do on Washington's birthday, if you were a dealer or you were a manager, is you had to get that first deal. You had to get it, all right? Because what happened was, you'd be sitting there and 9 o'clock in the morning, and people would be in at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and you're sitting there, and if it's noontime, all right, and you don't have a deal on the board yet, all right, you'd be like, and so, and then once you got that first deal, it was all in clumps. You would do 2-3 deals at a time, because I think what would happen, it would go through the showroom that people would buy a car, and then the people that are sitting at the desk next to it would go, well, they just bought a car. Why can't we buy a car? And so it was funny. You'd sell cars in clumps, like 3 to 5 cars, at a time. And at the end of the day, you'd do, 18 to 20, sometimes a little bit more, a little bit less. And that was a successful Washington's birthday.
Why not us? Well, Mark Gabelhart, the car guy, how do our listeners contact you, please?
Just Car Guy Hotline, 781-635-2264, or go to our website, which is www.route138motorcarcompany.com.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, I have Shelley Wolf on the line. She's calling from Philadelphia, but if she ever moves up to the area, we'll be sure to send her over to you to look at some deals. How does that sound?
That sounds great. And, just thank you again, Paul, for us talking today, and Happy New Year.
My friend, thank you, and be well. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks. Great. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. And on the line, on hold, we have the Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Toolbox segment with Techie Talonzo Amos and Shelley Wolf, global media firm owner of Toolbox Entertainment and past Paul Ponders guest, episode number 35. Shelley, welcome.
Hey, Paul. Welcome. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How are things going in Philadelphia?
Things are going really great, and it was great to listen to Mark's segment. And I was just sitting there going, I need to talk to him about a possible car down the road.
Absolutely. Well, he's the man. He's the man.
All right.
So you had some awesome tips for us last week, and do you have any techie tips for us today?
I sure do. This is about staying safe, staying smart, and protecting yourself from scammers. So what does that mean? So many of us, how many times do we get texts that say you've won a prize, a shipment has arrived, or that someone's claiming that your bank, you've got a bank issue, and it's tempting to pick up these texts, right? It's tempting to really respond to these things. But what I informed folks is you need to hold on. That one moment could literally cost you all your personal data, your money, or even your peace of mind. So I just want to give some recommendations on how to spot scams and safeguard yourself and your information. So let's start with scammers really rely on us for our urgency and frequency, right? When the phone rings, we feel the need to answer the phone. Don't answer that phone if you don't know that number. They'll text or call, pretend, when they call and text you pretending to be a government agency, which they're never going to do that. They're going to send you a letter. A loved one's in trouble, or a sweepstakes company. Again, if you do not recognize a number, do not answer that. That is a scam. They're phishing, and you need to make sure that you can respond to numbers that you know. So let's say that you feel the need to respond. But before we do that, let me go back. I want to give an interesting statistic I have for you. Last year, Americans lost over $10 billion, that's with a B, to phone scams, okay? So we do not want you answering phone numbers that you do not recognize. If it's important, they will leave the message. I recently had a listener say that they shared that they got a call from someone claiming it was a utility company. They panicked. They were ready to send money, and they said, you know what, let me go online for a second. Let me double-check the accuracy of my bills. They went and checked their bill, and their bill was just fine. So, again, people will call claiming they're all types of people. So, again, don't answer unknown calls or texts. Even by just responding to a text and saying stop, they're gathering your information. If you pick up that phone call and it's dead and you don't know the number, usually you hear that dead silence. They're recording your name, your voice, so that they can use that later on and using that in AI technology. So we just want to be careful. Do not answer information that, phone calls that come through. If it's important, they'll leave a voicemail. And if it's legitimate, they'll leave a voicemail. And again, even if they do leave a voicemail, just be cautious before you call back. Go and make sure that the number's legitimate. Just do a Google search quickly to know that the number's legit. Again, don't hit stop and don't type stop back to a message that you don't recognize. Start classifying these things as spam. Record them out on your phone as spam. Now, a lot of the new phones, I know on iPhones, you can go into your settings and you can set filter unknowns to senders. You can also go and I know Android phones now have settings for caller IDs and spam. So set up those. There's also, if you want to use a block calling app, you can do those. Again, I'm not a big fan of that. We talked a little bit last week about using the two-factor authentication. It's a lot more work because you have to always have your phone in hand. But to be honest with you, it's really becoming the safest way these days. So, again, you can also get out there and get on a do not call registry. If you go and visit donotcall.gov, great way to register your information and remove some of those telemarketing calls, especially as we're coming into tax time. People are going to start using government as a way to try to grab you. So, again, please do not answer calls. Stop receiving credit card information. Opt out of all those, credit card offers. And, anytime you're signing up for things, just remember to be careful because with the holidays just passing, we've given out all of our contact information. So you're going to start seeing your phone and your emails and text boosting up. So one of the common myths I just want to say is that if you don't answer, they'll stop calling. Not true. They're just looking to see if you have an active number. And again, texting stop is just a way to show them it is an active number. So you do not want to type stop because they're really looking for that. So, quick safe tips. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers. Never click links from unsolicited text. Use all call blocking apps that if you are feeling the need, or at least enable spam filters on your phone. Register with the Do Not Call registry and verify suspicious messages directly with the company. So, even, again, let's say an 800 number calls you and you think it might be somebody that you need to call back, go and search that number. More times than not, it's a scam. So, again, take a moment today to check all your phone settings, enable your spam filters. It'll reduce a lot of stuff. And, again, I want to thank you guys for having me. Today's segment is about staying safe, smart, and not letting the scammers win. So I hope that gives some good tips away.
So helpful. Shelley, I really thank you for taking the time and giving us some really great tips, and we look forward to more segments next week.
Absolutely. If there's any way you want to reach out, feel free to go to info@podproentertainment.com. Again, thank you, Paul. I hope you're feeling better and get some rest.
Absolutely. #indeed. Shelley, thank you. Have a great week, okay?
Thank you. Too.
Thank you very much. And on the line, do we have I thought that we had the answer to our trivia question on the line, but I guess we don't. So anyways, we have the financial wing of Olympic Proportion with Hank Morse, Vice President of Communications for Cabot Risk Strategies, LLC, with Olympian Dave Jensen, Senior Loan Officer for Riverworks Credit Union. And we were scheduled to have Rob Morrow. He'll be on next week. God willing, he's an employee benefits funding expert and webinar host for Cabot Risk Strategies, so we'll have him on. And also, too, we have the Uplift Provisions Nonprofit Corner of the Week, sponsored by Uplift Provisions. But the answer to that trivia question is Arthur Boyle is a 4-time school committee member, 4 different school committees: Malden School Committee, Northeast Metro Tech, Silver Lake, and Pembroke School Committee. So congratulations to Arthur. Sorry we did not connect today. Hope you're enjoying the family. And I ask you to stay tuned to WATD for the Memories with Ron Dwyer, the grand poobah of oldies rock and roll. You can subscribe to Paul Ponders on Spotify and YouTube or other streaming outlets. Please subscribe and give us some likes. Thanks again to Tim, Arthur Boyle, and our advertisers. But really, thank you, listeners in WATD world and beyond. Keep Paul pondering. Happy New Year, everyone. #indeed.